Saga is a tiny little itsy-bitsy RPG by British developer Daria Naghani. This is Daria's second commercial release, their first being an Ace Attorney-style game. That made me a bit skeptical going into their RPG. Fortunately, I wasn't disappointed. Daria was inspired by fable novels such as Redwall, Deptford Mice, and a tiny bit of Berserk. It's quite the weird variation he's got there. There are even plot points and plot devices named after some of the events in these novels. There's even an arc called The Battle for the Oaken Throne. This game's story is a long one, so buckle up. Our story starts off like any other RPG, with our hero trying to kill God. His name is Verm. He wasn't always trying to kill God. Before that, he and his older brother Lance were trying to steal food for their village. Lance is incredibly gifted with the arrow, being able to defeat 2 rat ruffians trying to shake our 2 mice down. Seeds are the currency in this game, pretty much invaluable for the plants they can produce and the fact that seeds can be eaten on their own. Before the 2 rat scallions scamper off, they say they're going to tattle to their boss, who wields something called a god weapon. Verm asks Lance if it's possible for people this small to wield the tools of the gods. Lance claims it's only possible for large animals. The 2 have no choice to tread onward, as food for them and their village is without question. They stumble across a statue of their idol, Leo the Blade Master, greatest mouse swordsman to ever live. The rats stole it and added it to their hoard down here. Legendary statues will be our save points throughout the game. The boss of the rats does eventually show up, and the tales are true. He wields a weapon of the gods. These gods are, of course, mankind. Using lances and Verm's strongest moves, we're able to defeat the boss, but only after he gives us a warning about the food stored in the heavens above us. He says that only death awaits us there. With our village running out of food, we have no choice to climb up. Our Verm glazes over the treasure before him, but Lance snaps him back into it, as they have to avoid the mouse traps and find a huge bag of seeds. They attempt to drag a bag off, but a noxious gas fills their lungs. The 2 can barely think straight until... The rats were right, only death is here. The 2 ditch the bag for their lives, but not before the fumes take their toll. Verm's vision is impaired and Lance gets lost up ahead. Verm trips into one of the mouse traps and Lance collects himself and tries to get Verm free. Both of them combined can't lift the godly contraption. Lance tries to distract the yellow god to buy Verm time. Lance succeeds, but at the greatest cost. Verm has 2 options during the fight: strike the metal contraption or his own tail. The answer quickly becomes apparent. An entire season passes and Verm has trained himself to use the knife of the gods. For reference, mice only live about 2 years, meaning Verm spent 1/8 of his entire life training and mastering this weapon. Since 7-Eleven Heaven is off limits, he's resorted to taking food from a nearby house instead. There's only one issue. Verm gets his ass kicked by Tiger the cat and escapes by the skin of his teeth. A mole outside watched the whole fight. Seeing that the fight went south, she drags Verm to safety. She introduces herself as Siobhan. Siobhan?
Siobhan.
Oh, so that's where that name comes from. Siobhan is the princess of Cranbale. Cranbay? Fuck, I can't find an answer for that one. Alright, I'm gonna call it, Cranbale. Siobhan introduces Verm to the town underground. Siobhan has to get back to her studies and gleefully runs back to the royal hall. Verm gets his bearings and buys some better armor at the local shop. From the books in the library, we learn the laws of all of Rodent Land, or Rodentia as it's called. We, as a collective of small critters, are to avoid human gaze, never harm the humans, and to never tamper with their tools. Verm has already broken 2 of these laws and fully intends on breaking the first. We soon learn that's why Verm is here, to ask the government of Cranbale if they know where the Yellow God went. The government has never heard of the Yellow God, but for trying to attack Tiger, a pet of the gods, the queen is supposed to punish Verm. She excuses him this one time, as he's not from these lands. Going forward, they will not help him either. A fair trade. We get off the hook, but we don't receive any aid. That is until Siobhan herself breaks rank and tries to help Verm. Siobhan has been waiting for an opportunity to scare off Tiger since he's been eating moles left and right. Siobhan has been breaking laws of her own. She grabs a god tool from her treasure trove and begs for Verm to let her help him defeat the pet. Verm isn't after Tiger, so he walks away from the situation. Verm and Siobhan re-enter the house and challenge Tiger yet again. Siobhan's lighter is incredibly effective against Tiger's fur, enough so that Verm can finally finish off the beast. Tiger runs off bleeding. Siobhan is so proud of their victory, she spreads the news to her mother. The queen, in response, banishes Siobhan. Both her and Verm committed heresy by harming the pet of the gods and bringing attention to the moles in the backyard. The gods themselves could bring down poison upon their kingdom. After Siobhan and Verm say their grievances and leave, the queen secretly sends a messenger to watch over Siobhan so that way nothing happens to her. Verm is off towards the next town, one known as Murida. Siobhan wants to help to return the favor to Verm. Verm thinks of her as a liability, and he's right. She's not a fighter. After more pleas and Siobhan offering her intellect, Verm reluctantly lets her join his quest. The two set out into the neighborhood and head west toward Merida. It's a long trip that will take weeks. Right off the bat, a fellow animal is trapped in a trash can nearby. Verm, feeling sympathy, tries to free the unknown animal in the trash can, but he's unable to lift the lid. Siobhan puts her intellect to the test and uses a ruler she finds on the road as a counterweight. They and the mystery animal fall to the ground. Turns out it was a pigeon trying to eat garbage. The flying rat introduces himself as Dizzy. Hold on a second. Dizzy offers to take the duo to Merida, free of charge. We get to see a glimpse of how large the world map is as we arrive at our destination. The game advertised itself taking place under the streets of London, and it lives up to that description. We get to see a couple monuments, there's some references to British statues and government, and as we'll see later, some British history involved with the story. We attempt to enter the underground city, but the gatekeeper doesn't let warriors in. A voice to the side whispers to us. He offers a riskier way into the city. With no other options, we accept this Scots deal and follow him into the sewer system. As we leave, the gatekeeper pops his head out and tries to warn us to stay away from the pipes. An engineer was eaten by an unknown creature not long ago. It's too late, our new party is long gone. The masked squirrel warns us there may be some small bugs we have to fight. And worse, that he himself is a pacifist. He opts out of any fights we get into. We find out it's not small bugs, but huge cockroaches. Verm becomes more and more frustrated with the masked squirrel as he didn't mention this many bugs. To make matters worse, they feel as if they're being watched as they can hear a foreboding voice coming from deeper in the sewers. The squirrel eggs on, saying no, just one more pipe and we're at Merida. Verm asks why the squirrel wants to get into Merida so bad. The squirrel mentions he's trying to get his duet band back together, and that he's to meet his bandmate at the Merida bar. To further quell Verm's curiosity, the squirrel introduces himself as Bruce. Verm, against his better judgment, opens up one last pipe.
What's a kraken?
Verm asks for Bruce's assistance for this one. Bruce doesn't know any attacks, but is able to buff our party members. Siobhan's lighter is weak against the kraken as it's covered in water. Verm is our main damage dealer. He makes good on his word and dices the Kraken into calamari. Verm berates Bruce yet again, this time taking a stab at his mask, wondering why a squirrel has to wear one. Siobhan gets the two to stop
bitching
and points out that Murida is on the other side. Siobhan is unimpressed with how shitty the town looks, but Bruce explains that they just landed in the seaport. Town square is right up ahead. Bruce tells us that this is where he departs to meet his bandmate. Siobhan wonders if we'll ever see him again, but Verm says he hopes not to. Siobhan berates him, telling him to be nicer. After Bruce leaves, Verm and Siobhan intend to rendezvous here at Town Square once each of them have gotten the information they need. Siobhan heads towards Merida's renowned library, while Verm heads towards the castle to inquire about the Yellow God. This town is huge. Up until this point, the game has been straight as an arrow, very linear, but now there's side quests everywhere. There's at least one shop or multiple shops per area, and a shit ton of NPCs. It's like being taken out of a small sandbox and being thrown into the Jersey Shore. The developer even made commentary that this was the hardest part of the game's development. His hard work shows. You can even go to a restaurant and each food has different upgrades. You can eat piss and shit or whatever the British call it. There's a clothing store, spider bank, open market, and much more.
Psst. Hey kid, wanna buy something?
What you got?
You're fine, alright? So how about a berserko mushroom? The waterfalls of Shanvik eat 'em before battle. True facts. One mushroom is 8 coins. Interested?
No thanks.
No? Smart lad. Your mum taught you well.
Where the side quests will lead you in this small world, and the fact that we'll come back to Merida several times in the story, is proof that Merida is the best area in the entire game. I particularly like the side quest where you meet a kid who marks the location on your map to find treasure.
Wait, what's a map?
Verm himself was never able to read the map, because he never went to school. He spent his entire time training. The only downside to Merida and the game as a whole is some sparse instances where some Kickstarter backer OCs are injected into what was a very immersive town. It doesn't take a keen eye to pick them out. Picking up with Siobhan at the library, she learns about the history of Merida, that the city was rebuilt after a devastating fire, and that the royalty has been comprised of rats for the past 300 years. During her studies, she meets the plague master of the town.
That's quite all right. Happens all the time. Indeed I am. Plague Master Aquila of Merida, to be exact.
She inquires for her friend if he knows about the Yellow God.
Oh, how curious. What do you and your friend know about this Yellow God? Wait, your friend saw the Yellow God with his own eyes? Your friend actually met the Yellow God and lived? Who is your friend? What's his name? Where is he? You must take me to him. Wait, Mole, wait!
Siobhan scampers back to Town Square. The Plague Master goes to alert the king at once. We get a glimpse that Bruce has met up with his partner. The two not only plan to play a song for the Duke of a neighboring town, they intend to steal something from said Duke as well, something that belonged to Bruce's family, the Thick Plottons. Their plan is to distract the Duke with their scheduled performance while someone takes the goods. There's one issue: they don't have a burglar to do the latter. They ask around the tavern for any adventurer who wants in, like it's a goddamn D&D campaign or something. Unfortunately, no one joins. Fortunately, no one snitches about these heinous intentions Bruce basically admitted to everyone. However, a jerboa, not a gerbil, I just learned about them while writing the scripts. I didn't even know these creatures existed. Now that I think about it, shrews, jerboa, owls, and even bats to a minor extent almost never show up in my American neck of the woods. We don't get the same wildlife here in the middle of the East Coast, so forgive me if I butcher some names or I'm completely dumbfounded by some of these animals referenced in the story. To give an idea of how many of these animals I have not seen, there's a part where the characters mention ghosts and muzzwolves, of which neither are real. I thought for a second muzzwolves were an actual thing in Britain. I traveled to Arizona once, saw buffalo. I bet you haven't seen that, you Europeans. Anyways, a jerboa appears from the shadows and states that as an experienced thief, he wants in. Both Bruce and his partner question if he's actually as experienced as he claims, but the jerboa has already stolen their coin. Jabari, the jerboa, joins the crew with flying colors. We return to Verm. He's allowed on royal grounds as today is the king's coronation, and everyone is allowed to visit and do anything short of actually talking to the king. Riot royals roam the halls as Verm scampers towards the throne room. On his way there, he meets a knight wielding one half of a pair of scissors. saying their sister is going to be fired if she's late again. We recall a guard wielding a similar scissor pair, and we remind them to get back to the coronation quickly. The reunited pair thank us, and we try to enter the throat. Turns out you need to schedule an appointment months in advance, which is literally a chunk of a mouse's lifetime. So Verm won't be getting any information on the Yellow God anytime soon. He still schedules an appointment anyways. We leave with our tail between our legs and reunite with Siobhan back at Town Square. We, the audience, get a glimpse of what was happening in the throne room. With the new Rat King taking over for the dead Queen of Murida, he's put to work immediately, and oh boy, does he have his work cut out for him. He has to give a decision to continue keeping the gates sealed to the city in order to control an incoming exodus. He and Blade Master Leo discuss that it might actually be good for trade to reopen to the gates, and that it would be for the good of the people. The Lore Master relays a message from Cranbale that the Mole Princess is kidnapped by a vagabond mouse, and to send guards for her to return immediately. The Plague Master finally returns.
Your Majesty. This is a matter of great importance, Needle Knight. National security. There are two subjects of interest in the city, a mole girl and a vagabond mouse. I believe they possess knowledge of a great supernatural force. I request that you rally the Thimble Guard to find them and... It must be. The girl was dressed like nobility. Well, what are you waiting for, Needle Knight? Rally the Thimble Guard. Search the city.
I'll brief my bitches Rosaline and Dame on the matter. That should suffice, tall-ass Nick.
That's all? 2 amateur knights? Your Majesty, this is a very serious matter. Yes, Your Majesty. Thank you, Your Majesty.
He is to return to his studies. Leo sends the pair of scissor guards from before to find the Mole Princess and the Vagabond Mouse. The king trusts Blade Master Leo and dismisses his counsel. The scissor guards might not have to travel far, as Verm is stuck outside the palace, fighting the same rat ruffians from before. Verm wants information on the Yellow God, so he beats it out of them.
Round 2, bozos! Let's rock!
The rats knew about the god and they lived underneath his feet. They have to have something. The rat ruffians don't know anything about the Yellow God's current location, since they've moved. But they tell Verm to seek out the Kalik,
Kalia.
an ancient titan. The Kalia has lived much longer than the rats, and she may have seen the Yellow God roaming around. The lead is weak, but it's the best we have to go off of. Despite Verm's anger with not meeting with the royalty and having to babysit Siobhan, he doesn't retort. He's actually happy to have Siobhan by his side. He silently accepts the company rather than disparaging her, which is a step up from his usual attitude. While the duo head to Dizzy for a ride, Bruce and his crew are already at the neighboring town, Sky Garden. A massive oak tree filled to the brim with gray squirrels. I specify their color because Clan Gray Squirrel and Clan Red have been at war for the past few centuries. See, now, racism is never justified. I love all of God's creatures as long as they can't run faster than me. So Bruce has to hide his red fur the best he can. So he puts his tail inside his suit so that way he won't be a dead giveaway. Bruce describes his family's heirloom as a shiny round stone and sends Jabari to find a place to climb the tree unnoticed. Jabari is aware he has the hardest job and will remember that for later. Bruce is able to walk inside the tree village freely, shopping around and talking to the disgruntled locals. They seem peeved that the king has pretty much assigned jobs to them, whereas others are constantly abused by the guards. We reach the throne room.
My Duke, it looks like your entertainment has arrived. Lol. Better late than never. What am I looking at here? Well, your accents are pretty good. Is this a comedy set? A shame.
Before they play, Bruce asks what happened to the flowers and springing flora that Sky Garden was known for. The Duke goes on a tirade.
Flowers? Wrong. The rainbow field was the symbol of clan bread, weakness and degeneracy. The symbol of Clan Grey is the wayward star above the stripped sea. It is a flawless emblem. The star stands for strength, iron will, the seizing of destiny made manifest. For we are one house under the gods, indomitable, with freedom and righteousness for all. Button up patriotism. Entertain me.
Bruce and his partner don't dally. After the Duke's tirade on Clan Grey's strength, they start their music number. We cut away to see Jabari rummaging through the Duke's storage. He finally finds the shiny stone, only before giving him and his comrades away. He himself makes his escape. As guards apprehend you, all the royal subjects are able to see you're a filthy Clan Red. You are immediately put in the prison for your affiliation and put into the deepest part of the dungeons with the worst criminals. Your cellmate is one by the name of Dragon, a disastrous white rat who asked the Weasel Guard out? How the fuck did you get the name Dragon from that?
It's because I claw and bite people!
Something strange about this rat is that their fur is white. Usually when we're going through nature in towns, we only see brown, gray rats, usually rats you'd see in nature. White rats are predominantly pets of the gods, so it's strange to see one here. Perhaps it's another reason she's put in this prison. We're in a 3x5 block cell. We can barely move around. No key on a guard in sight. We're left to eat the breadcrumbs from Dragon's meal. And the worst part is, our partner is locked away in a different cell, scheduled to be executed within a couple days. Things are looking pretty dire for Bruce. But on the bright side, Dragon doesn't want to kill us. In fact, our second conversation is about how we're going to escape this place tonight. It hasn't even been a couple minutes. With this being one of the deepest jail cells, guards only deliver food about twice a day. They don't really check the condition of the cells. I'm skipping this one. Wow, we sure did find the storage room fast. No boring stealth section here. One thing that isn't boring, though, is this game's soundtrack. It always finds the perfect beat for the environment. One moment you're in a royal hall. The next you're in an urban street with Dizzy. Then you're in the north with Scottish Bruce. The soundtrack always finds a way to make the environments more fitting and memorable. Usually I can gauge how memorable a game is by how often I have to look back on my own gameplay and footage to figure out what happened. But for Small Saga, even after a couple playthroughs, I can almost recall by heart. Almost. In fact, one of my favorite moments happens once the entire team gets together. Verm and Siobhan have finally arrived at Sky Garden's tree, and have already inquired with the Duke about the whereabouts of the Yellow God and the Kalya.
No, yes, of course. As a matter of fact.
The Duke will give the whereabouts in exchange for Verm's god weapon. The only way they're getting the knife is with the sharp end first. This immediately sours the council, including the ferret juggernaut that Dragon supposedly hit on. Before a fight can break out, the Duke yields, as he doesn't want to get blood on the throne room floor. He says Verm has spunk.
What's spunk?
The Duke will now tell us where the Kalya is. Both him and his subjects snicker at one another and say the Kalya can be found in the Glooming Woods to the southeast. Best not to linger near an angry ferret, and we hightail it out of there. By this point, Bruce and Dragon have reclaimed their jewels and have been fighting off all the guards. The only few left are the Warden and his best guards up top. On the way up, Dragon prods at Bruce about his mask and why he wears it at this point since they already found out his identity. Bruce is still ashamed for being a hated red squirrel. Even though he'll just get arrested again, he chooses to keep the mask on for whatever reason. Possibly a reminder of his failure to Clan Red. He isn't much of a fighter after all. As Bruce plays a loud melody to bolster Dragon in the next fight, Verm and all the residents near the door to the jail hear this song. Verm and Siobhan recognize his tune, as it's the same one he used to buff their party earlier. Verm still isn't too fond of Bruce after the sewer ordeal and leaves him to die. Siobhan begs for them to help Bruce. Verm, as he walks away, Bruce and Dragon break out. Verm and Siobhan break in. Bruce introduces Dragon, whose real name is Gwen, but I'm going to keep calling her Dragon because that sounds cooler. The Warden sends a guard to sound the alarm. The Warden reveals a god weapon of his own. In basic RPG fashion, we hard target the Warden controlling and buffing the machine, then hard focus the dog itself.
Let's see if metal bleeds!
With our full ragtag disagreeing team finally working together, it creates a great moment of fulfillment as we can truly call ourselves a party. Bruce tries to return to his partner to save him, but Dragon made a promise to get Bruce out in one piece, and forces Bruce to escape with the rest of them. With the entrance of the jail being on the bottom floor, we're able to quickly escape Sky Garden. No one follows us out of the castle. Bruce is in dismay about his partner, but realizes it will be impossible to get him out without backup. He thinks there will be at least some help at Glooming Woods, where the Red Squirrel clan used to be. Verm is also headed towards the Glooming Woods, as that is where the Kalya is. There's only one issue. Glooming Woods is a maze. Taking the wrong turn either brings you right back to the beginning, or certain doom. I fucking hate maze puzzles. This would be a good time to mention the game doesn't have an auto-run feature, like some other RPGs, so be prepared to hold down the shift key. Just as we got a full party, we're separated immediately, as the maze of the Glooming Woods starts to take its toll. We're not the only ones separated. The scissor guards who are hunting Verm and Siobhan were detached, and now one of them is questioning Siobhan and Bruce. It's a good thing we got split up, as the scissor guard is looking for a mouse carrying off a mole. The scissor guard runs off, as this couldn't possibly be the kidnapped mole. On the other side of the maze, Dragon and Verm realize what happened, and while looking around, Dragon inquires about Verm's missing tail, showing that she too is missing appendages due to her mysterious past.
Wait, what's a tail?
Verm dismisses the question, saying he copes just fine. The two are interrupted by a different scissor guard. This one realizes it's the warrior mouse wielding a god weapon and gets in battle stance. She lowers her weapon as she quickly recognizes you as the same mouse who saved her sister's job, making it on time for the king's coronation. That's awesome. We avoided a boss battle thanks to our actions. I know this is an RPG, but I honestly wasn't expecting this level of depth and payoff. We'll remember this for interactions going forward. With the boss battle sidestepped, we're able to call our way back to the group. We meet another soul who fell victim to the Glooming Woods. It's Jabari, our two-timing thief. Bruce is in a rage and attacks the furball for the first time. He throws a real punch during our adventure. Jabari hands over the smooth stone and tells Bruce he will make things right. With old tensions quelched, we head into the Ashen Tower at the center of the woods. It's getting dark and there's no light in the abandoned tower. We walk up to what was once a glorious statue of a squirrel, but now only the feet remain. Bruce, who is already in a terrible state with his partner being executed tomorrow, is in anguish as he sees the ruins of his family. We climb to the top, passing apparitions of the Clan Red. We reach what was once the throne room. Only darkness remains. Dragon is able to smell a large creature in the room. Verm steps forward and calls for the Kalya. What is possibly a bat responds, saying the Kalya, their mother, is gone now. Siobhan describes the creature as a Nightwing. The creature lets us ask one more question. Verm gets to ask where the Yellow God of Death is. The Nightwing replies that death comes unexpectedly and takes whatever it wants. Verm is confused by the vague answer. The Nightwing, in turn, asks if Verm will pay tribute. Dragon tells the party to stay calm, as they have numbers on their side. One bat won't be a challenge for four of us. Okay, 4 bats is a bit much, but if we pull our best items, we might be able to beat them. This is a skill check.
4 titans? Ha! That means it's fair fight.
I don't think we can take these guys.
Shut up!
Oh shit, he was right. Despite that being our hardest battle, Verm defeats multiple of the owls on his own and gives Bruce the chance to place his family heirloom where it rightfully belongs. Bruce, helped or not, is going back to Sky Garden to save his partner. Dragon wants revenge for locking her up just for flirting with the ferret Juggernaut, and Siobhan, as always, just wants to help. Verm has no reason to help, as he's still not on the best terms with Bruce and just met Dragon. Not to mention, Sky Garden is on full alert thanks to their breakout. Getting in unannounced would be impossible. It's the four of them versus a small army. Verm, seeing the futile, walks away. I mean, hey, there's no I in team, right guys? Verm doesn't run away, and together they pull their resources one more time to see what they can do. They did just defeat 4 whole-ass owls. Perhaps a small army isn't too far-fetched. Speaking of those owls, turns out it was Sky Garden that killed the Kolya. The Duke's visit to the Glooming Maze earlier was to deal with the Kolya and to secure the area for the Grey Squirrels. Maybe the owls want some revenge too. We get a rare perspective from the antagonist. The Ferret Juggernaut is doing her nightly patrols and finds the Duke on the top of Sky Garden. She asks what he's doing, and he's looking out for the wayward star. He can't see it. The lights of the gods have blocked out the stars. The Duke actually gets sad for once. The Juggernaut reminds him that the wayward star has been blocked for years now. The Duke looks over his kingdom and says that he's not willing to let it go. He's partially afraid by the appearance of the 4 warriors and the escapees, and bolsters himself to protect his own kingdom. He may be afraid of the gods like we are, but he's not afraid of 4 ruffians. This is one of the few times in the entire game that will actually humanize the antagonist, and I kinda like it. Again, moments like this are rare, so it's extra peachy when we get little tidbits like this. The rest of the night goes by without any incidents. Then the next morning, as the guards are distracted with the raid, Jabari pays Bruce back by freeing his partner. The partner recommends a brilliant idea. Free not just him, but all the prisoners while the guards are away. Taking down Sky Garden might just work. The guards are now split in 3 ways, some fighting the owls, others fighting Verm's hefty crew, and the rest with the jailbreak. However, even with the ranks thinned, they still keep flowing in. As we try to run past, the prisoners have won their side of the fight, and have joined the disgruntled tree folk in overthrowing their cruel monarch. This creates enough of a distraction for us to slip past and fight one of the generals. For his special move, he wields a gun. This is one of the few times in the game we know when to block. It's right after he reloads. However, I know how attack economy works in RPGs, so the less there are of you, the more I'm going to hard focus someone. Like a goddamn boss rush, we move on to the next floor to fight another boss. This time, the Ferret Juggernaut herself. Knowing there's no more guards in the floors above, the Ferret sends the Duke to safety on the roof, while she deals with the intruders. Verm challenges the Ferret despite her undefeated title. As the fight goes on, the Ferret explains why she became known as the Peerless. As we exchange blows, she's comfortably able to explain that the title isn't just because there's no warrior in Sky Garden, it's because there's no other ferrets around. Similar to the Kolya and the owls, the squirrels together had fought off the rest of the larger animals, or titans as they're called. This included the ferrets. However, the ferrets were still a force to be reckoned with, and having one on their payroll would deter other large creatures while keeping smaller ones in check. As payment, the squirrels would sacrifice a mouse or rat prisoner to the ferret to keep her satiated. The squirrel's strongest soldier, but at a hefty cost. A cost that has gotten too great to pay. The Juggernaut goes into a second phase.
my god!
Her attacks now heal her, so building up damage and striking all at once is the battle strategy going for the second phase. It's a good thing Bruce is no longer a pacifist. We're gonna need every hand we can get. With all hands on deck, we defeat the peerless juggernaut. Skygarden has fallen. All that's left is to dispute with the fallen Duke. He's a sore loser, as expected, and gives us an ominous prophecy, similar to the owls about how the Yellow God of Death will strike. But the Duke is more descriptive, saying the Yellow God usually strikes at the 13th bell. When Verm asks what that means, the Duke himself doesn't know what the 13 chimes means. And with that stupid prophecy, the Squirrel Duke jumps off the balcony to escape.
Damn it, my jump was perfect, but that landing, that could have used some work. Men, to me! Soldiers, fall in! Anyone? Lamia, thank God you're still alive. That's good. Let's regroup and kick some tail. Pay tribute now. You'll get paid when we defeat those degenerate terrorists. Lamia, please, what's gotten into you? Now listen to me.
Skygarden is back in control of the Red Squirrel clan. We converse with the townsfolk, freely this time, talking about the future of Skygarden and how they're happy to have a government that doesn't force specific jobs on them and doesn't punish them for not being a gray squirrel. Skygarden now gets the same treatment as Murida. Citizens can be any species except large. Verm tries to get free shit for saving the town, but he's declined. People still need to make a living, and in a time of rebuilding, free shit is not on the menu. The gold statue of the Duke is smelted down, and the gray squirrels that still believe to be the rightful species are put in prison until they're ready to work with the mice and rats. Bruce finally takes his mask off, reunites with his partner, and together with the remainder of the clan, rule over Skygarden. Verm is pretty stoic as usual, unchanged by, well, the change, and now only has a clue about the Yellow God after all of this. News spreads fast about Skygarden's fall.
Why is the pigeon taxi ranked so far from the palace? Y'all need one of them shuttlebug services or something. Now, why am I here? Oh yeah, lol, Skygarden's been invaded. Lol, yeah, crazy times. But it looks like Duke Josh was dethroned and eaten. Lol.
Verm and Siobhan's bounties rise. Bruce is pretty much untouchable thanks to his new position as the leader of Skygarden. Dragon stays at Skygarden for the time being. Oh damn it, not another Kickstarter furry OC. Stupid furries. Don't they know animals aren't real? Verm and Siobhan say they'll see Bruce and Dragon later as they make the fatal mistake of leaving Skygarden. They're off to their scheduled appointment with the King of Merida. A couple months have passed. Verm thinks their bounty with Merida is long done, as the Scissor Guards already said they'll let Verm slide. When he gets to Merida's entrance, he's greeted by his role model, the man he and his brother Lance used to look up to, Leo the Blade Master. After the Scissor Guards failed to save the Mole Princess from the dreaded Mouse Warrior, Leo was personally ridiculed by the king and assigned to deal with Verm himself. Verm is angry as always, but considers it an honor to fight his role model. He thinks he can even put up a fight. Siobhan, after watching the strongest member of their party, and her best friend, fall to an infallible enemy, agrees to go silently. Leo informs Siobhan that she will avoid punishment because she has friends in high places. Immediately, her mind goes to her mom, but it's actually Plague Master Aquila for her knowledge of the Yellow God. He wants to know more. Leo escorts Siobhan back to the castle. An entire season goes by, and Siobhan is now an experienced apprentice. Siobhan thought Aquila was some evil doctor experimenting on rats, but it turns out he was just making little robots and trying to study the gods' toys.
I have principles. I have ethics. You want to see a scientist who doesn't know where to draw the line? Go to Whitehall. Go witness what the gods get up to there.
Siobhan has also gained an interest in the gods, but is worried if one was to attack. She even mentions the prophecy Duke Josh talked about.
Prophecies are for fools. and Duke Josh had nuts for brains. But even a cracked bell can ring true. Once per year, the gods turn their clocks back 1 hour. Heavens knows why. The gods love their peculiar rituals, but in any case, the result is a night with a witching hour, a night where the clock strikes 13, as it were. From what I've translated of godly papers and pamphlets, something foul may indeed be approaching on that date, and when that happens, Excalibur will protect the palace.
Aquila offers to show Siobhan one of humanity's greatest tools, Excalibur. In exchange, Siobhan will have to become the next Plague Master. Siobhan is overwhelmed by the two massive reveals that Aquila owns the mythical superweapon of the gods, but also that he's passing down his role. Aquila reminds her that he is near the end of his lifespan, and there must be a new Plague Master. Aquila gives Siobhan the next few days off in order for her to think about the massive decisions. Siobhan leaves the lab, and we get to see what she's been up to since Verm's death. The castle seemed to welcome her with open arms. Guards sympathize with her, as Aquila isn't an easy man to work with, but Siobhan enjoys her studies. Siobhan has even become friends with some of the nobles. All inhabitants of the castle except one noble love Siobhan's new hat. Siobhan leaves the castle and sees Dizzy after all these months, which, keep in mind, are like years to some of these creatures. Almost a year has gone by, which is about a third of Siobhan's lifespan, and even worse for rats and mice. Dizzy is jubilated to see Siobhan and offers her a free ride anywhere. Siobhan only wants to go to one place.
Bruce! Dragon!
Bruce and Dragon couldn't be happier to see Siobhan. They have so much to catch up on, but they need to show Siobhan something important first. Bruce and Dragon personally dredged the waters near the end of the banks where Verm fell. They found no body, only his sword. The trio don't know if Verm is alive, but the three agree that finding him is the least they can do after all he's done for the three of them. Freeing Siobhan and her people from Tiger, helping Bruce reunite with his partner and retake Sky Garden, and helping to free Dragon from the prison and execution. While Dragon was leading a patrol around Sky Garden, Dragon mentions a lead of a warrior mouse from a town called Vinium. Though mouse citizens aren't too uncommon, it's a very weak lead, but it's all we've got. So, one quick adventure to reunite the party. Bruce will split up to go to Vinium as a envoy and try and see if he can find Verm there, while Siobhan and Dragon will stay back and fix Verm's sword. If they find Verm, it'll be a great reward for his hard work, and if not, it is a legendary weapon on its own. Before they ride with Dizzy, they get to catch up on all the things they've been up to. Siobhan with her studies at the castle, Bruce as a newfound leader, Dragon as the new legendary warrior of Sky Garden. We reach our first departure, White Hall. Dragon remembers a small forge in our old home here, so the rumors of Dragon being some sort of white rat pet for the gods is kind of true. We'll just have to find out the details. Their goodbyes to Bruce as he travels to investigate Vinium. The doors to White Hall are constantly patrolled by humans. Going through won't be an option. We see an entrance to the sewers, and Dragon knows the way. She's acclimated with the medical supply, blood, and chemicals in White Hall's sewers, but Siobhan is nauseated. Dragon eggs her on to keep going. According to Dragon, this was her only means.
Could you shut the fuck up?
According to Dragon, this was her only means of escape back in the day. Dragon enters her old home. Tons of gods rummaging around, studying around, but she finds none. She expects some of her old friends, but finds only one left. George is a lab animal like Dragon. The difference is, George believes in the laws of the land, that gods know best, and that anything good or bad they do to the animals is but a gift. Even when the gods took Dragon's legs and gave her small prosthetics, he considered that a gift. Dragon damns the humans that experimented on them and continues to question George where everyone went. George only wants to fight. Dragon gets more and more agitated as the fight goes on with no answers. Dragon defeats George as she rages on. He finally answers all of our questions. Whitehall is shutting down, and the last of the rats have either died off or were taken somewhere else. He also bestows Dragon the small forge, a Bunsen burner for the duo. With that, they part ways. How is Bruce hanging up? Bruce has been captured by shrews, and because he's a red squirrel, a species that has become incredibly rare in these parts, he's used as an attraction in the Colosseum, an exotic warrior. They're not wrong. Bruce cleanly handles some of the scorpions before things get too hefty for him. But how did all of this happen? Bruce was inquiring with all the townsfolk in an abandoned Toys R Us. This store made the perfect settlement for shrews, as no human would dare step foot here. The town even has great security, with a cat who defends the town from other titans. In exchange, the cat is fed the losers of the Colosseum. Welp, couldn't be us. News spreads fast of an outsider, a non-shrew, a red squirrel even, perusing for a warrior mouse? After talking with a local farm owner, he was informed of a new warrior mouse who wanted to be an employee. We walk up to see Verm? He's lost an eye, but it looks good on him. Verm returns the compliment, saying Bruce looks happy walking around without his mask on. We implore for Verm to come back, saying how everyone misses him, and how the trio owe it to Verm to hunt down the Yellow God for saving them at Sky Garden. Verm contemplates for a moment.
Wait! What's a trio?
Yep, this is definitely Verm. Verm says Leo the Bleed Master was right. Verm was fighting for nothing. Verm is pretty much over the ordeal and would rather be a humble mushroom farmer the rest of his life. Bruce tries to get Verm to at least reunite with the gang, but it's no use. Verm is a ghost now. Bruce leaves empty-handed. In fact, he leaves worse than empty-handed because he gets captured by the shrews. Verm's coworkers tell Verm they're going to go see the new attraction at the Colosseum, a red squirrel gladiator. Fuck. Verm immediately realizes Bruce is in danger and is a hoe in the fray. Between fights with the scorpions, Bruce and Verm rekindle their spark for battle. Verm now would at least like to catch up a little bit with the gang, especially since the gang feels they haven't made it up to Verm for Sky Garden. Who is Verm to turn down a kind and deserving free gift from his friends? With Verm back at our side, we wipe the floor with the scorpions. And all that is left is to defeat the reigning champion of the Colosseum, a Muzzwolf. In classic gladiatorial fashion, Bruce has earned his freedom. It's revealed to the council that Bruce was the leader of Sky Garden, thus the man who imprisoned us is punished severely. As compensation, we're given a free Lego house to live in. We're also given a good chunk of farmland, as well as barrels of wine. All of this actually belonged to the man who imprisoned us, so this all kinda works out. Now that Verm has moved on yet again, he has no use for the farm and hands it down to his coworkers. Verm actually keeps the house and wine, and we play a homemaking minigame? This game has a weird amount of thought put into it. While we were in the town hall, we read a letter from Murida to Vinium about how Excalibur is to be used in the coming future. Despite Vinium's ruler owing us after the whole gladiatorial Colosseum thing, he does not owe us an explanation and shoos us away from the letter. Verm sets foot outside Vinium for the first time in months, which is over a decade in mouse years. He's surrounded by friends. We get another round of catching up with everyone before the gift is unveiled to us. Verm has his sword back. He gets his tail back too. Dragon made him one using the same Bunsen burner from before. We have better balance, learn a new dodge move because of it, and we are showered in gifts from our former party and friends. The gang, together, has returned to Verm. Everyone in town is none the wiser to Verm's return, as it's public news that he supposedly died. So Verm can walk around happily and freely. It also helps that Verm looks much different now. Siobhan says she'll return as she runs off towards her job. She intends to become the new Plague Master. Bruce wants to revisit the old tavern where he met his partner. He tells Verm to give Dragon a good tour of Merida. I am skipping this arc. With all the gifts Verm received, rewards from side quests we've done, Siobhan being promoted, Bruce living happily, Dragon is finally content, we're at a peak. But with every peak, there is a valley. Siobhan returns to take up the mantle. As promised, Aquila will now show Siobhan Excalibur. After a short trip through a hidden castle exit and hitching a ride on an elevator, on the way up, Aquila asks Siobhan if she knows about the Age of Fire. Siobhan reiterates their history. It was a time in the 1940s when gods and rats lived together underground, side by side, all because fire eggs rained from above. This is the rodent's perspective of the Blitz air raid on London. They reach Excalibur's location. Aquila reveals why he was quizzing Siobhan and reveals a bomb that had laid dud beneath London after the war. The rats held on to it and studied it for over 50 years.
A rodent's life is short and pathetic, so intergeneration knowledge is crucial if we wish to push the boundary of understanding. It took decades to find and decipher the relevant god texts, to reverse engineer the wiring and machinery.
This is where Siobhan comes in. She will inherit the knowledge and use Excalibur once the Yellow God comes to exterminate Murida. Merida's government has learned the Yellow God comes on the day of daylight savings. The day has 13 hours, 13 bell chimes. Aquila mentions that the bomb, Excalibur, will not only kill several gods, but also rats and mice alike. Thousands will die from the bomb on both sides. Siobhan thinks Excalibur should never be used and resigns on the spot.
Oh, so you're just a regular psychopath.
Aquila is enraged by this, but not deterred from using Excalibur in the coming future. Chilling at the bar when Verm and Dragon return from an arc that totally did not happen, Siobhan comes sprinting in to let them know about the terrible news. The Yellow God intends to exterminate Merida in a couple days, and on top of that, Merida's answer is to detonate a bomb above. Great, now we have 2 life-ending threats to worry about. We're back to a 2-front war again, I just had a video about this. The group immediately starts devising a plan to at least stop Excalibur within a couple days, and then defeat the Yellow God a day later. This plan is even wilder than Sky Garden, but they have no choice. It's Yankee Doodle do or die. Oh wait, I can't say that, they're British, fuck. The 2 rat ruffians overhear our conversation and actually offer assistance. They'll let us in on their secret plan to stop Merida when we're ready to commit to rioting. This is the point of no return, so make sure all your side quests are in check before accepting. Before we recap the side quests, this is where one of my major gripes with the game comes in. Some of the most interesting side quests aren't available up until this point, meaning you could easily miss the following side quests. Bruce upgrades his music playing skills and his stats by completing more Guitar Hero. He also becomes closer to his partner by doing this. Siobhan goes back home and puts napalm in her fucking lighter to make it stronger. She also proves she's an independent woman to her mother by defeating Cranbale's Blade Master. Dragon puts an end to George's brainwashed worship of the gods by defeating the white god who experimented on them in the first place. Defeating a huge, lore-impactful boss is a fucking side quest. There's more. You can save the lives of the Scissor Guards, again, by going to the town where Leo the Blade Master grew up. The town in its own right has a handful of its own lore. You can go back to Tiger at the beginning of the game, beat his ass a 3rd time, and then give his collar to our friendly cat at Vinium. There's a nice handful of shit to do if you want to 100% the game. Phew. This would be a lot easier to explain if most of what I just said wasn't crammed right before the final act. It would be better if it was sprinkled throughout the story to help with character development. One detail I loved about Bruce's final side quest is that he requests a song so that he may practice his skills. And Verm recommends Needle Night, the song him and his brother used to sing because they used to look up to Blade Master Leo. And despite Leo almost killing Verm, he still requests his song. I don't know what's more heartbreaking, the fact that Verm still has a spot for the song in his heart, or the possibility it's the only song Verm knows by name. Either way, we return to Merida to finally enter the point of no return. With all of the major side quests out of the way, this does help contribute to the final quest and the ending of the game. We're ready to start the final mission. The 2 rat ruffians let us know they're planning a riot to showcase the Pavern part of their kingdom. This riot would distract the Thimble Guard enough for us to find an opening into the castle. They claim they sent out tons of flyers and pamphlets and expect hundreds to show up for the event. It's only us that shows up at the event next day. The event is at least successful in getting the guards' attention, as in true British fashion, we don't have a license to protest. We have the option to talk or fight things out, and we immediately choose the fight option. And Dragon is with us on that. Even though our riot is small, the news that it was led by the gang that overthrew the Sky Garden was enough to get the Thimble Guard up in arms. They don't want their very own kingdom overthrown, or at least most didn't want their king overthrown. A general wastes no time to set up a barricade and get all reinforcements in front of the castle. We fight wave after wave of guards. Fortunately, the waves of guards you fight can be shortened depending on the side quests you did prior to the end mission. Allies and those you helped throughout the game will assist you during your siege. As the riot goes on, a lot of Murida citizens actually join in on the battle, all finally meeting up one last time to help you with the final wave. Something funny I found while editing this is that the General of the Guard calls his ally Leo Blademaster a twink, but we later learn that Leo has a daughter, so the General either didn't know that or thinks Leo just looks flamboyant. Inside, the king is finally starting to take the riot as a serious threat. He himself is becoming paranoid as he considers his own regicide. After no delegation at all, he orders for Excalibur to be dropped. Rather than have sympathy for the thousands that will die, he considers their lives forfeit as they all want him overthrown. Blademaster Leo and the Lore Master of Merida never wanted to use Excalibur, and instead want this to end with delegation. The king declares his supreme rule that the riots and even some of the more innocent people must die to retain the strength and stability of the kingdom. Leo contemplates how shit the situation is. The Lore Master says that they are no different from the king, as they are the ones serving him. Leo says fuck that. Leo, the greatest blade master, challenges everyone to a fight. Naturally, he knows he'll win, and the guard is aware of that too. They lay down their arms, and Diego, the strongest guard, calls them all cowards. Diego challenges Leo and gets his ass checked. Back outside, the fight between our allies and the general is enough of a distraction for the rat ruffians to show us a secret entrance into the castle. We thank him and our allies for their help. Verm, not knowing what just went down in the throne room, says we'll talk to the king. The party thinks this is a terrible idea, considering Verm is a terrible speaker when it comes to royalty. One thing the party doesn't deny is that Verm is the strongest, and if anyone could break into the throne room and convince the king one way or another, it would be him. Siobhan's the only one who knows where Excalibur is, and leads the remaining gang up to Big Ben. Nice little note, by the way. The statue that we can use as a save point here is based on Albert Einstein, which vaguely relates to nuclear bombs. Excalibur may be a regular bomb to humans, but it is essentially a nuke to mice. Aquila was expecting a messenger to give him the go-ahead to use the bomb, but it's revealed he was going to use the bomb either way. Siobhan tries to convince Aquila one last time. She even compares Aquila to Verm, and says that Aquila would have gotten along with him, in that Verm was once a raging psychopath who used tools of the gods and hated everyone and also wanted to kill the gods. Verm also eventually found society to be okay. Even when Aquila is presented with this incredibly perfect comparison, thank you Siobhan, you're the best, Aquila in his mad mind thinks of Verm as more of a short-fused and dumb animal, while Aquila himself is the Chad smart mastermind. Alright, this guy's diabolical, let's stop the egg bomb.
Ah, now, tampering with the egg I cannot permit.
You actually think you can take us?
Take you? I'm an aging academic with no battle experience. Of course I can't take you, but I don't need to win. I just need to delay.
Oh shit, this is a time fight.
He's running. Out.
With only 30 seconds to spare, we down Aquila, and Siobhan is able to disarm the ballista. She doesn't know how to disarm the bomb, but the device launching it is deactivated for now. We're safe. I can't say the same for Verm. Verm sees the carnage, and is challenged by Leo yet again. Leo believes harming the Yellow God would just bring more attention to the mice. The gods would just send more Yellow Gods to kill us. Verm has better footing this time thanks to his tail that Dragon made for him, and is able to dodge Leo's one-hit kill. They trade blows, and Verm's able to break his sword. Leo has brought plenty of spares this time, but it's no matter. Leo dies, knowing it might just be possible to deter the Yellow God, but the future of the kingdom scares him before he fades away. It's worth noting it is possible to let Leo live if you destroy all spare swords, but doing so requires great use of perfect items and armor. Verm meets the gang at the entrance of the Yellow God's location. The timing of Verm's plan took too long, and the Yellow God is already on his way to Merida. It's almost daylight savings time. The British Parliament had noticed they had a rodent problem and hired a Yellow God to exterminate. We take out a rat fumigator with ease, and the noise gets the attention of the Yellow God. It's our long-awaited time for revenge. Striking his boots does nothing. We jump up to the desk of the British Parliament where the royal scepter lays. Finally, we can make him bleed. We finally got our revenge.
They hit the Pentagon!
The contraption that launches Excalibur may have been disabled, but the bomb itself was not. The dud had finally gone off, and no god was hurt since Big Ben was shut down for the extermination. Murida is saved, and a statue of Verm is erected. Verm fucking hates it. Dragon cheers him up, saying people will forget who the statue is, and after that, Verm has every right to destroy it. Verm inspects the statue. It describes a hero who's noble and above all heroes. Verm doesn't recognize him. The few remaining guards bow to us and give us an account of what else happened during that fateful day. When we inquire about Aquila, they tell us he fucking exploded, and that we should have known that since our gang was there. In a weird sense, Aquila was victorious. The Yellow God had been defeated for now, and the God Monument had been destroyed. Mice can hear gods rumbling above, but none of the chatter pertains to the rodent problem. They're much more worried about Big Ben being destroyed. The lore master who helped Leo overthrow the king ran off to the Outlands. All those who helped in the siege were pardoned, and some were even rewarded. Leo fucking died. And with the king having no relatives who want the throne due to, well, the high mortality rate of the position, Verm and Siobhan are left to decide the next ruler of Merida. Verm declares there should be no ruler. Siobhan is worried, but agrees for the time being. Verm realizes the Yellow God they fought was probably one of many, but it doesn't matter. Mouse lives were saved that day. The gang thanks Verm one last time for everything he's done, and he says he's off to retire in the Outlands, where his original home village is. Siobhan reminds Verm he can come back to his friends anytime. Verm is grateful and walks off screen. We get a farewell song from the musician in the tavern, Most RPGs have some after-credits scene that show what the characters are up to afterwards, but this one lacks it, so I made one myself. And that's the game. Made by a small handful of people, but predominantly one guy. Overall, the game has a great story that's only hindered by some very easy combat and a couple stuck-out elements. But like most RPGs, the story and world are the highlight, and this is no slouch. The characters are great, well fleshed out, they're constantly bouncing off each other. Like, I left it out of the story because it happens so often. Characters will constantly comment on battles, events going on around them, experiences, past history. There's a lot of character interactions I had to leave out for the sake of time. I'm actually going to go back on my third playthrough just to find out some more. Everyone gets a fair share of screen time, the music is great, some of the songs I will definitely be adding to my iTunes. If it was on there, Noghani, developer, if you're listening to this, you got some goddamn bops. Put that shit on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, whatever is easiest for you. I already have your soundtrack on Steam, but Steam's mobile app won't play music during my car rides. Please put that shit on like whatever app is easiest, and I will pay the fees as well as buy the entire album, please. My favorite song is easily the Homecoming Seidel.
Kaylee.
Or Bruce's theme, both are bangers, fucking love those. Anyways, the game itself is an easy recommendation to anyone. It goes for like $10 or some shit, as all great games do. This will be one of my longest story reviews so far. If you actually made it this far, thanks a bunch, it means a lot. Subscribe if you want more, I don't have anything else, so I'll see you in the next story.